substance equals spin. The propaganda's a win, stress feeding on my tension. My countrymen, they love their fiction. Words upon now, it's made with good intentions.
Welcome to one of 200, the Media and Politics podcast, joined by some co-hosts on this. It's a pretty lovely Saturday morning in Auckland. I don't know about where you two are, but right here, looking out my window, nice blue sky, few spotted clouds. Wow. Thanks, Aotearoa. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Ollie, back for a second week.
Yeah, kia ora. It's beautiful weather out here as well, but I think we're not that far away from each other, so that shouldn't be surprising.
Yeah, hey, it's Auckland, you never know. And we got Philip too. How you doing, Philip?
Morena, ni hao, kia ora. You're here with the Weather and Clouds podcast, your weekly update on all things weather and clouds. And we have nothing but good things to report this week. So I hope you're in for an hour of current cloud discourse.
We have weather, we have clouds. Fantastic. That's actually it. It's not an hour, it's 5 minutes. The podcast is done.
R.I.P. David Lynch.
There are clouds on the horizon though.
Oh, the most ham-fisted.
The classic Kyle segue.
Get his ass.
Beautiful. Clouds, weird clouds. I mean, there's a lot of weird, bad omens in the air. We've got America just always looking bad, but New Zealand has its own sort of attempt at copycatting the successes of American fascism. In part, these awesome new changes to the election registration rules.
When they announced it, it felt pretty evil, and it just kind of got more evil in the last few days when they've been asked about it again as they're looking to push the rule changes through, with the Election Commission saying this won't speed up voting. This won't speed up vote counting.
Not only that, they said this won't speed up vote counting, and it will disenfranchise a huge number of voters. It'll instantly deregister something like 55,000 voters.
Sorry, just to cut you off there in classic amateur podcast form. But as a baseline of the last election, it would go up from 55,000. It would quintuple to 55,000 voters. The number of votes that would be disallowed for over 400% of disallowed voters. So it's just, an extremely transparent attack on democracy and people actually having a say on things. Tough.
And it also shortens the early voting period. So I think initially when it was being talked about, we're talking possibly in the hundreds of thousands. If the people who vote during that period coming up to the election, usually that is the only time that they can vote, right? Which can often be the case because some of us have jobs. We have lives. People are busy. One of the best things about New Zealand's electoral system has been its flexibility with voters so that they can vote on their terms and in the time that they have. And Luxon and his government are very openly trying to get rid of that because... there's no other way to read this at this point, right? They know that those votes usually swing left by 1 or 2 seats worth.
Yeah, 70%-ish.
And the other thing being disenfranchisement of people who are enrolled on the wrong electorate, which is almost exclusively Māori voters. So that's the other piece of sort of arithmetic they've done is how do we disenfranchise a ton of Māori voters, which again, are most likely to vote for Labour or Te Pāti Māori.
And renters, right? If you don't own the home where you are, you've probably moved in the last 3 years with New Zealand rental laws.
Yeah.
And the odds that you haven't ticked all the right boxes and signed all the right forms over the last few years with New Zealand's classical affinity for bureaucracy is pretty fucking high when you think about it. And yeah, I agree, probably really the only really progressive and fantastic thing about New Zealand's small d democratic kind of electoral structure is how easy it's been, and that it's got easier over the last 10 years, which is a bit different from a lot of countries in the Western world where there seems to be a slow, grating process of disenfranchisement. And the fact that Paul Goldsmith could be the goal of this is to decrease the time it takes for the votes to be counted back to 14 days, the gold standard of electoral pacing, where you look around the world and countries are happily taking weeks and months to count all the votes. It took the US months and months and months, not to put that as a gold standard, but for fuck's sake, do you have a democracy or not? I mean, pick up a vote and count it.
The evidence is there
responsibility
to show that what Luxon was saying about It's actually ludicrous the terms he used. He says, when questioned about his claims regarding this new legislation, he said, "Go look at other Western economies
Economies, yeah.
around the world, and how fast they count their vote. We must be the slowest folk on the planet." Just like
Just wrong.
absurd
Not even
in so
close.
many ways.
Not even close to correct. Look at Germany. They happily just lived without a government for months after their last election. It's
France as well.
impressive.
They had
Yeah,
a hung gut in Parliament for like literally months because of Macron's little shenanigans.
And
shenanigans.
it's all the politicians,
Like yeah,
right? Like the politicians are the ones holding it up, and here as well. I think for me, this is one of those, we've seen creeping fascism in New Zealand as we have across all of the West, with I like a lot of people experiencing fascism occurring to them at increasing amounts over the last decade, I guess. But this is one of those like rhetorical moments, I guess, where it really feels like these guys just have to be slapped about. Like the media, like, please God, do your jobs for once on this stuff. There has been some challenge to this, but these are such absurd claims, so clearly incorrect. And we've talked about this, I think we even talked about it last week, about the way in which the right wing does not care about hypocrisy. We're not just going to be able to say, "Oh, but it was you who took so long, right? And so actually, you shouldn't do this." They don't give a shit. Like, this is like the boot camp situation again, right? Where Christopher Luxon was told that we have the evidence that these don't work. It actually harms people and communities. The cost is outrageous. And Luxon came back with something like, we're gonna do damn something. I'm just gonna have to try something different. Completely ignoring the fact that we tried boot camps before and had them overwhelmingly fail.
that's the
These
real.
are
It's a funny little rhetorical trick. John Key was very fond of it as well. Of that, we'll do something, and it works on incredibly stupid people. Which is, oh well, he must be a doer because he said he was going to do something, and it's not evidence based. It's not like clever or informed. It's just they say they'll do something. They're men of action because they said out loud that they were going to do a thing.
And
But
unfortunately, a lot of those people who buy it are in the press gallery, because these kind of outright lies, right? These attacks on institutions are the sorts of things that the press should hound someone out of office for, like unambiguously.
I mean, have you seen anyone except Henry Cook do that though? Because he's edited or published a few articles about
Mhm.
this, but honestly, I haven't seen this from any other
No,
quarters.
no, this is what I mean.
yeah, I
Um,
mean, Henry will always cover that stuff because he's a big election
Nerd.
rules nerd. Yeah,
Yeah, but that's who you
someone
want. That's who
totally
you want doing that
Complimentary,
job,
complimentary nerd.
Complimentary nerd, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Be
Oh,
clear.
absolutely. No, I love Henry, but like that's very much his wheelhouse. But unfortunately, there's not a lot of people doing that, and there's not a lot of firebrands doing that. We're lacking for a Tober O'Brien right now of someone who will actually like try and put them on the spot and get an embarrassing soundbite as part of their like modus operandi.
That's a really good point, actually. I never thought I'd say it, but welcome back, Tova. All is forgiven.
Oh
know?
man, I mean,
No,
Come
I
back.
had
We
nothing to
missed that.
forgive. I was always a big fan of her
Yeah,
stuff. I
yeah.
know people got mad at her because she sometimes it seemed like she was on irrelevant stuff, or like people got really mad at her during the COVID stuff because she was being a bit too mean to Queen Jacinda. But like
I stopped being mad at her at the beginning of. I was mad at her well before that, and then I said,
I've
"No,
always
hold up."
appreciated that we've had at least one gadfly in the press gallery.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I underappreciated that, to be fair.
don't know what we
It's
got.
Mm.
it's something though which it looks like they just go ahead with it. I half quipped yesterday that once the leader of a country starts openly attacking the people responsible for elections, the Governor General should probably be taking a little bit of a closer look. But it feels like this is a pattern across the West, and I currently don't see any like this anyone choosing to stop this. Like ACT should probably do it on principle. Like
The only funny joke that's ever been told on 1 of 200.
Oh
Really
man,
good.
an evergreen phrase, really.
hmm
Oh boy,
hmm
ACT should probably oppose this on principle. Isn't it weird that they don't?
Yeah, 20 years old that bit, and it never ages.
But yeah, it looks like they're gonna just do a bit of disenfranchisement, and they're gonna make it better for them. Like 55,000 doesn't sound like a big number compared to other what is it, Western
Economies.
economies. But That's really significant.
That is
And
55,000 economic units that are losing their right to participate in the voting economy.
That number of widgets, guys, it can't be underestimated.
Oh my gosh.
and it could swing the election. It could like
Oh yeah.
very clearly swing the election, especially if Labour continue to do nothing and keep the votes close. I do not want a fucking stop the steal discourse in our election in 2026. It'll be dire, and then all the like Labour fandom going like blue and on. Jesus Christ, save us from it.
Can see it, eh? We're
Yeah,
always
55,000. It wouldn't have swung. I don't think it would have swung the last election, but I believe it might have swung the one before.
Yeah, I mean, last election was a bit of a stomp. The one before was even worse.
No, yeah, there's one before was a stomp the other way. I'm thinking of it must have been previous. There was one that was a nail biter.
The Ardern one.
17?
That was your first one.
Jacinda's first term, yeah.
Yeah.
17, yeah.
Um,
It does still feel like we're in the long 23, so I empathize with your vibes.
The other thing is like Labour has spoken out about it. Duncan Webb is like being pretty clear about the danger of making this kind of change. But as I said, with Labour doing very little on the policy front, not really even attacking National on their big gaffes, standing back and purporting to do the if your opponent's making a mistake, let them trip kind of stuff. Well, not really doing that at all. I want to be clear. And certainly not giving people anything else to vote for, which is like one of my like biggest worries in regards.
it is a very
to
elegant
26.
way to do nothing for sure. To be like, oh yeah, we're just giving them enough rope to hang themselves. It's like, okay, but like
But you're not.
seize on that.
Also,
Like,
also you're attached to the other end of that rope, mate. Like,
they're gonna yank you off the cliff with them.
but you're looking to the rest
Yeah.
of the Western world, right, where these things are also happening. And, we know Hipkins visited Keir Starmer for advice a year and a half, 2 years ago. And now look at the UK. Keir Starmer just penned an op-ed in The Telegraph, which I would say almost no Labour voters read, saying the left went too far on immigration.
Yeah, we need to crack down on these migrants.
Finally, if there's one thing the Labour Party in the UK hasn't done enough of, it's bash migrants and refugees and poor
and
people
pivoting
at their
right.
worst. Yeah, finally.
Finally, a right-wing pivot from UK
Easy
Labour.
for too long. No, we're obviously being sarcastic. It's fucking embarrassing and racist and a huge existential problem for the Labour Party. But, he's backed into a corner. He's taking swings. There's obviously massive internal kind of disruption with the Morgan McSweeney investigation and
But it's finally like in the open
competition.
that he was like undermining the Corbyn government or
Yeah.
Corbyn leadership.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a poll like literally like last, I want to say a month ago, but it probably wasn't even that long ago. It was like maybe 2 weeks ago. They had another approval rating poll for him, and he's polling worse than Trump. He has, I believe, potentially, it might not be the worst, but it's one of the worst approval ratings in the entire West in terms of net
Is he
favorability.
getting close to David Seymour yet?
Let me just
Fellow
okay,
Prime Minister of a Commonwealth country.
Yeah, he's approaching Emmanuel Macron levels.
Oish, yeah.
Minus 47 net favorability.
Incredible.
Yeah, not great.
And so the way he's going to try and do that is give more permission to Nigel Farage and Reform to be even more fascist than they already are.
Well, that was funny, wasn't it? Because was it Kamala Harris the other day was talking about how like she said like, oh, the big mistake I made on my campaign was that I didn't promise to put a Republican in my cabinet, which she did. I guess she just forgot, but she did do that. She promised to do that. And then at the same time, Nancy Pelosi announced that it's time for the Democrats to become anti-abortion. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's been your big lesson from this creeping fascism of the Trump era is we need to join them because we can't beat them. We got to join them. And maybe we can seize some votes from those guys who think that we are a cabal of child-eating pedophiles. Yeah, well, they're trying to court the lunatic vote in America, I guess. Which is not. I mean, it's not. We know it's not going to work. It has
never worked.
Yeah, but that's what they're gonna. I guess it seems like that's what they're setting up to do again.
Yeah, and it's not. There's no New Zealand exceptionalism here, right? Like, I think anyone who's going, oh no, but Hipkins wouldn't do that, right? Like, that's what they said about Starmer. You know, like that's what like Starmer said, and people accepted his promises and were like, oh yeah, finally someone who's he
A
said he's going to do
sensible.
Corbyn stuff, but he's sensible and he's not Corbyn. And did I mention he's not Jeremy Corbyn?
It's crazy how much that, like, sorry, a little aside, but like the whole anti-Semite attack that they used against Corbyn, just how little that would fly today.
Mm.
It's crazy to imagine. It's like it just wouldn't work anymore. It was so
He would
effective.
win an election off it.
Yeah, he would straight up win an election because
But this
that was his problem. He was just early.
that would be, yeah, as usual, like correct 5 years too early, you know. But like one of my bugbears at the moment is the idea that like pressure is this thing that either works or doesn't. Like I totally agree, but like the fact that it works is because you're operating in a structure where your position in that is dictated by your power relationship, right? So like if enough mainstream people attack you for anything, it doesn't have to be anti-Semitism. Like the reason that was too early is because they wanted it to be too early.
Yeah.
They could have decided at the time that like there's no there and compared it to like evidential comparisons to other leaders at the time, Koch, Boris Johnson, who were actual like racists. And if that was something they actually were concerned about, then they could have been, but they chose not to be. So it's not like that's not an accident, is what I'm saying. Like
Oh yeah, and if
the
you ever had
next
any
the
doubts
next
about
year
it,
the next Jeremy Corbyn will be problematic in a new way, is what I'm saying. And like the left has to fucking gird their loins for that and not resile from those complaints of like faux bigotry that will inevitably emerge or whatever it'll be, right? There'll be a new scandal,
Yeah.
quote unquote scandal.
The
I
media
mean,
and all the political parties, to a large extent, are part of the capital class. You know, they're within that sector of society. They are consolidating. They are drawing their battle lines against us, right? Like this is not about the Democrats or UK Labour trying to win more voters. We like they can see those numbers the same as we can, right? They know that this is fucking them up electorally. It's about them signaling to their opponents, "Hey, we're on your side." You know, it's them signaling to the rich and powerful, we're inside the house. And
are
any
you
thought
suggesting,
that
Kyle, that the history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles?
what?
No one
I wasn't really thinking about it that way, but now you mention it.
no one's ever said this before.
No, it was just a thought that I had off the top of my dome.
Yeah, nice, nice.
Yeah, I thought it was elegant. Yeah, and that's if there was any question about the sort of integrity or directed policy of someone like an institution like the BBC, you need to look no further than their bizarre and often intentionally misleading coverage of Gaza, where they have straight up just lied and repeatedly acted as stenographers for the IDF and crushed dissenting voices and deliberately elevated pro-Zionist voices for 2 straight years
And you can say
amidst.
the same about RNZ, right? In New Zealand. And there's no reason to believe that the same political narratives or whatever you want to call them, strategies, won't play out with New Zealand Labour in the same way they have with UK Labour, because Chris Hipkins is doing nothing to show that they're not going to do that.
It's not all bad though, because we look at Gaza. Let's
Mm.
if we're talking Gaza,
Finally, some good news.
we have, oh my God, like the flotilla, which
Actually, like incredible news, eh?
it's achieving exactly what they hoped, because I think people were very critical of it. They're like, what is the point of this exercise? And the point of the exercise was to create a tense situation that would force national governments to act. And people were very sort of skeptical about whether or not that would work. But then Tunisia, they get attacked. They get back out on the water. They're in the middle of the Mediterranean, and Israeli drones are dropping random shit on the boat. Literally, just like they've got the politicians on Twitter saying, "We are going to kill you." And these incredible people were like, "Oh, we'll just stay on the boat. I guess if we die, we die." Like a bizarre situation. Israel claiming that they have a right to blockade the coastline of another sovereign state, which is not a thing that any country is allowed to do, but they claim that they're allowed to do it because they're trying to achieve some, well, not so secret goals. But in response to that, the government of Italy and Spain having gone completely beast mode on this topic in recent months, have sent the navy out to essentially function as a deterring security force for the flotilla, and have promised to escort it on its mission because they've, I guess, had enough.
Yeah, amazing.
Like, it's that freedom of navigation, bitch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Because-
like
but it's unprecedented.
Yeah. I'd never expected that to happen.
Never. And I mean, this is under Georgia Maloney, which is the terrible. Again, another deeply unpopular leader, and I think she's probably stuck a finger into the wind and gone, okay, here's a way that I
The
can make.
workers have shut down my country.
Yeah, that's it,
Yeah,
right?
I should give credit where it's due. The general strike was incredibly successful both in Spain and Italy. They basically said, absolutely the fuck not. We're shutting everything down. We're shutting down the ports. Nothing's coming in and out going. We're not going to work. And their leaders have gone, okay, we need to respond to this obvious issue. Again, Pedro Sanchez, again, another deeply unpopular leader, but has gone, okay, maybe I can claw something back by jumping on an extremely popular issue in my country where disapproval of Israel is at an all-time high. Unthinkable. Like, because we hear all this constant sort of talk in the West of the position that Anglophone, specifically Western countries, feel, where they're like, oh, most Americans support Israel. Again, not true anymore. But like they kind of create this image that like English-speaking white nations are all pro-Israel. That has fallen apart, but it was never true in places like Italy and Spain. They've always been way more woke than we were on this particular issue. And so we're now sort of seeing that they have been pushed even further and are now doing things that, again, years ago we never would have thought imaginable, which is using military might to curtail Israeli influence. It's interesting. I'm as a lifelong pessimist on this particular issue, who still shows up, but I've just been very dark on it for a long time. This whole era has like as a certain individual said, a golden opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. It's a difficult kind of pace change. I hesitate to say turning point for obvious reasons, but like it has. I feel like the last kind of 3 months has felt like maybe there's been a change in pace, not necessarily in public opinion because that's always been happening, and particularly over the last 2 years, but in terms of maybe some invisible thresholds have been crossed, maybe some like consulting agencies have changed their advice. Who knows, right? How these Mediterranean governments obtain their kind of comms marching orders. Because you're
General
right, like
strikes, Philip. They just see it happen.
yeah,
Let's see it happen. But no, you're
but
right, because the consulting firms have switched too. You look at the UK and Australia just suddenly just going, oh yeah, Palestine. I mean, obviously they didn't do it in a particularly gracious or thoughtful way, but they suddenly and abruptly declared Palestine a state because they're scrambling. They're trying to distance themselves from the International Criminal Court.
yeah,
I suspect is probably what a large part of that is about. But the
yeah, yeah.
advice has shifted.
That's what I'm saying. It's like of course, like the workers are on side, right? But the fact that the like technocratic managerial advice class is shifting as well. Like I didn't expect that to happen so fast. As someone who's also mostly been kind of a pessimist on this issue for 20 years and shown up and gone, yeah, I wish, it's one of those incredibly sad
Wouldn't that be
things.
cool? Wouldn't that be imagine?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But like,
Yeah.
I understand the pessimism of the Gaza flotilla in particular, because it's happened for what, like 16, 17 years. And there's always been well, what do you expect? Well, this is what, like, on paper,
This is what we
as I-
should expect.
yeah, as I always say,
Yeah.
like, if international law did what it said on the tin, this is what should have happened the first fucking time, is that,
Instead of them just being killed.
yeah, you'd hope, right? And like that's why I think in every country people should be demanding, and by people I mean the media class, the gallery journalist class, should be demanding answers to the question: we have citizens of this country in international waters in the Mediterranean under imminent threat of being attacked by a nation that you are calling our friends. A, why are they our friends? And B, what are you going to do when they die? Because that, I think, would put the shits up the government in a way that no one has done until this point. And being called Hamas, as the Israeli government is doing consistently to the flotilla, is, as we've seen over the last 2 years, precursor to being targeted and murdered. So I don't think you can put too fine a point on it, and you can go, look, we've seen what happens when these people call you Hamas, whether it's negotiators on behalf of peace from Palestine, whether it's people, journalists coming from another country who have no connection to any even prescribed terrorist
Aid workers
organization.
from the UN.
Exactly, whether it's UN workers, if they call someone Hamas, in their eyes, they become legal targets. Do you think, New Zealand government, that Kiwis, there are at least 2 New Zealand citizens that I know of? 3 on the flotilla. And what are you going to do when Israel bombs and kills these people? Because that is a relevant question, I think. Like that is in international waters, it's obviously against international law, but it's also like a very violent imposition of your will on people who have no, this isn't even an Israeli space at all, right? Like we're talking about the blockade, but there's also the separate issue of just being in international waters, right? Do you think Israel has the right to bomb and kill New Zealand civilians who happen to be on a yacht? Like if it's international waters, anything goes, right? You're just submitting yourself to whatever Netanyahu says on the spur of the
Yeah,
moment.
can we do the New Zealand
That's
mention before New Zealand citizens get assassinated? Maybe?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's do something before they die. But there does seem to be this kind of weird belief, at least among right wingers right now, that international waters means the government can just do whatever they want. And you look at that, the same thing with Trump sort of just blowing up a boat off the coast of Venezuela that they have as yet not proven was in any way involved in drug trafficking. They just said that after the fact and published the video online of them committing what would still be an egregious breach of international law and a breach of
It is.
American law, even if they were drug traffickers, because the penalty for drug trafficking, at least in America, is not summary execution. And so this is kind of what we touched on last episode, but talking about how that sort of rapid and widespread deterioration of or respect for law that is not actually coming from the bottom up. It's not people sort of breaking the law. It's not that sort of righteous anger of something like the George Floyd riots where they were obviously breaking the law, but you could justify it because you could see that it was coming as a sort of expression of populist anger. But here we're seeing law breaking by lawmakers, by the very top, just flagrantly flaunting and flouting laws that they claim to uphold. Likewise, being member states. Well, we'll see. Member states with the ICJ who refuse to uphold warrants that the ICJ have issued. They don't
ICC.
respect. Sorry, so ICC, and again, just no regard for war crimes being committed by an allied state, no regard, and in fact, in the case of the UK, active participation in those war crimes, which is again the sort of strangest thing was Starmer trying to sort of veil himself in righteousness by declaring Palestine a state and shedding tears for all the children that he's bombing, because that's the thing, you can't distinguish those two things. The RAF refueling Israeli ships means that England is bombing Gazan children. That's not. They will argue they're not. Hopefully one day they'll have to argue that in court. But they are actively participating in the genocide while then trying to virtue signal this idea that they think is, I don't know, in line with the public sentiment.
Yeah, like I don't know who you think is doing the war crimes, mate. Like, why are you? What is this tragedy that you're referring to that is so, I don't know, academic? It's really unpleasant. There's something particularly nasty about that one. But even the recognitions from Anthony Albanese and Carney came with like quite nasty legal fishhooks that I got mad about for a few days.
Oh yeah, I mean, they're talking about like
huge impositions
yeah,
on sovereignty
crazy.
that you just couldn't conceive of in any other environment, right? Like awful, like really cruel, unusual.
They're openly talking about setting up Tony Blair as like king of Gaza, like just a completely unelected.
Yeah, we want a Palestinian
Sovereign.
state that we can control. We want to do the same thing as essentially we did with Israel. We're going to use it as a place for Western projection and I think in part, if they are trying to go with the Blair plan to balance out kind of Israel, which has just become a wild dog, right? I think they understand, like on some level, that what Israel is doing cannot continue because it is going to fuck them up.
It's just incredible that the best thing they can think of is re-establishing mandatory Palestine.
Yeah, it's wild. One good thing about the Balfour Declaration is that it was so long ago that we haven't learned any lessons from it. What we need now is a Balfour Declaration.
It's
That was
so
actually speaking of whole new thresholds. I saw the other day a quote from actor Charles Charles. I don't know how he pronounces it.
Yeah,
Tywin fucking Lannister, just popping his head up above the parapet and going, "Hey, just by the way, we should disestablish Israel."
yeah, incredible. Incredible.
That was a while ago as well, right? Because he's dead, right?
No, he's
Is he?
hanging out. What are you talking? Who are you talking about?
Oh, no,
Oh
what?
no. We're
I'm
if
googling this
so,
as
we're
we speak.
learning this live on.
No, is his Wikipedia says is. You
He's
madman.
fine,
No, I'm
dude.
sure this quote was just recently.
Okay.
Yeah, him and Liam Cunningham, the other another
Yeah.
Legend.
Game of Thrones actor, the Onion Knight. The two of them just been great on this particular topic. With Liam just like non-stop going to bat. But Charles Dance just like in an interview the other day is casually dropping that he thinks Israel should be dismantled. And I was like,
Wow.
again, it's something completely unthinkable. Like 5 years ago, you never could have imagined a celebrity, a famous actor, coming forward and saying, "Oh yeah, I mean, because this is not to say that he's just some Johnny come lately. Charles has had a great stance on this for years. He's been an activist for many, many, many years. But to my knowledge, I don't recall he ever saying it's time for us to unpick the Balfour Declaration. But he's clearly fed up." And that's what he says in this interview. He's like, I'm watching it and I'm just fed up. It's very clear that Israel can't be trusted with this stuff anymore. We just need to go back. Just need to give it back. And I was like, what a remarkable threshold.
And honestly, looking at the opinion polls for options in Israel, it's hard to come to other conclusions at this
Oh,
point.
gotcha.
It's
Yeah.
fucking bleak, right? Like there's going to have to be like again, on the proviso that were there to be a just international law-based solution to this conflict in the future, I know, imagine
Imagine.
that. There would have to be like a greater than post-US Civil War era like reintegration of these societies in a way that's never happened in history. So who the fuck knows what that could look like, right?
I mean, how do you
I mean,
process like the entire
Yeah,
population of a country through the Hague? Because that's where Israel is right now.
bureaucracy alone.
well, I guess the precedent would be, things like Bosnia, Kosovo, like the
Cost of it, yeah.
chiefing collaborative project. But I don't know. It's not one-to-one comparable. But I think there is a lesson there in terms of how we can rebuild a society. And I think post-apartheid South Africa is also like there's a reconstruction, and as you said, the Civil War. They could have gone a little further. I think there was, maybe let a few too
Yeah.
many people work with that one.
A
And
lot too many, some might say. Yeah.
the problem where they just let most of them off the hook. There needs to be some kind of reckoning. As Kyle semi-flippantly said, we need to put the entire population through The Hague, but that's also not that necessarily that, but there does need to be sort of a widespread re-education for any Israeli population who choose to stay, which is ideal. I mean, if we're going to solve the situation here, we're talking a single Palestinian state, secular, with sovereignty, its freedom to run its own affairs, and then in order to sort of prevent ongoing catastrophe between remaining populations, some kind of peacekeeping force, you would need to de-radicalize that Israeli presence.
And you know what? As a kind and magnanimous individual, I think Israelis should have the right to go back to where they came
Poland.
from. Yeah, Poland, Lithuania. Lithuania is about to double its population.
More and more settlers are, like,
Russia and
from
America
Russia.
as well.
America,
Yeah.
Like it's pretty nasty, yeah.
Unfortunately, they're going to be populating their countries with deeply annoying people.
That's right. I don't think we were in any danger.
It's time for the Anglosphere to take them back. It's time for the West to take them
it's
back.
just you look at South Africa and you look at that big white flight from there in 1995, and look, we all know a few of them because a lot of them came to New Zealand.
What happened to our precious North Shore?
Yeah, they just bring it home. They just bring it home. And obviously it's great. I mean, they're completely neutered. They lost their South Africa. We laughingly call them Wenwe because they, talk nostalgically about an apartheid state. And they like I said, they don't have a ton of influence, but it is jarring every now and then when you're talking to someone who made that sort of migration, who's just like, oh yeah, I just hate black people.
I mean, check your Instagram stories for the R.I.P. Charlie Kirks. That's who we're talking about.
Yeah.
But Jay Swee. Yeah.
Sorry.
And the New Zealand kind of sphere, Winston Peters put off this Palestinian recognition, right? I think he's going to give some kind of speech just about at the time we finish recording this episode. So we can predict something, but I'm unwilling to. Who knows? I assume what it's going to be is him saying, "Oh, it's not the time to be talking about recognizing a Palestinian state while this is ongoing," right? Which has been the line over the last couple of years.
And Seymour said the same just the other day.
Yeah, yeah. But that says to me that more than previously, the government is captured by the like outright Zionists in places like the ACT Party. Like because even Luxon and Peters in the past have been like I use stronger in air quotes here on this issue. So what is going on there? Why has this shifted? Or are we going to get the situation where Winston Peters just like fuck this and is going
We
to
love America. We're going to war with China. Fuck yeah,
no, I
maybe
mean
it's a big
the other
announcement.
direction, right? Like
Yeah.
and says like, oh, actually no, we're aligning with the UK, Australia, and Canada against the US on this. It's very odd for New Zealand to be doing it this way, and especially if they are just choosing to be a lapdog for America.
But
Um,
It's because ACT won the election and knows how MMP works. I'm not kidding. Like that, as I've been on my fucking high horse about for high horse is the wrong word. I've been on my shit about for a few years, as you well know.
that horse
Like
is not
it's
high.
because it's the lowest horse. It's a mini horse, those ones that are like 2 feet tall. It's because David Seymour is like the best operator in the government and gets his incredibly unpopular shit through, despite not because of the amount of support. And like, it's not going to work for him next election, but he got the shit that he wanted through this term. Like, that's if you were an unpopular radical politician, that is how you should use electoral politics. Like,
Ripping out the copper wire.
mate, 100%. Like, he's doing his shit. He is Gorbacheving New Zealand. Like, you just, it shouldn't take you long to fuck up a society that you like deeply loathe and want to destroy. And like, if that's your project, he's doing all the things, right? But like I'm
Do you think
more
he threatened to drop the government over Palestine recognition, though?
no. It's just they're cowards. And like if he mentioned that, they would be so scared because look at the polls. Like Luxon doesn't want to fucking deal with that, you know? But I am more of a like centrist about whether I think Winston will be more like I think he'll find a conciliatory tone that journalists will think looks like recognition, but it'll have like a number of hooks in it that we can't even dream of. A Hellraiser level of hooks.
And an unprecedented number of condemnations of Hamas, of course.
Oh yeah, absolutely. A real compliment sandwich
Yeah.
for Israel. That's what I'm anticipating. Only because I love to make bets that will be immediately proven wrong in literally 10 minutes time after this episode's finished.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
leaving this in no matter what
Good.
Winston
Yeah,
Peters does
yeah.
end up saying. Yeah.
Yeah, we stand on it.
Yeah, it's not looking good. And you know, as many have said before, and as we've said previously on the podcast as well, like even if he does go the direction of the UK and Australia and Canada, like who gives a shit?
It's
Like
irrelevant.
it's irrelevant. It's nowhere near enough. Like
Come to also, on a more important note, come to the fucking march over the Harbour Bridge when that happens. You know, that's the real mark of where our population is. The numbers at the March for Humanity were fucking crazy. Let's double it. Let's walk over the Harbour Bridge and show the government that making some soft words is embarrassing. Like, there's a reason that the raison d'etre for that march was sanction Israel and it wasn't recognize Palestine. Like that's a
yeah.
material difference, you know?
And you know, other countries are stepping up a lot harder than we are. Now we're doing a few bigger marches. The unions really need to get involved much more than just like showing up to the march as well at this stage. Like
Let's send a boat to the Mediterranean. Let's go.
I know, I mean,
One of our two boats.
have we intervened enough to prevent the loss of life that is possibly going to happen, and by our own citizens for exercising their right to just sail through some seas?
I mean, the thing is, like, any of like the major like unions currently loggerheads with the government over, you know, conditions and pay, like teachers or healthcare, they could go like, actually, you know what else? Take a stronger stance on Gaza. Or we're gonna actually this is part of our strike now, right? Like we're gonna shut down the workforce by shutting down the schools. We're gonna shut down the workforce by shutting down the hospitals. Like you literally have this power right now. Those particular unions and, with solidarity from other organizations like the PSA could put significant pressure on the government right now to stop a genocide. And the leadership of those unions is choosing not to. I just want to be really, really clear about that because we've seen it happen in both Italy and Spain now. Like the proof of concept is there. You could do that.
Although I would, not to give too much credit here, but I do think it's more successful in places like Italy and Spain, in part because their unions are a lot stronger. Their
Yeah,
unions are
absolutely.
popular. Yeah, and also again, like I was saying before, like the matter of Israel-Palestine is a lot more advanced in those countries than it is here, where there is a potential blowback of running a sort of general strike here and then finding out that the population actually gets more mad about it than supportive, which does happen a lot here, even when they're fighting for something completely valid and unambiguously fair,
Yeah.
like let's not pay teachers dog shit.
Yeah, and I get that's the problem with the media here as well, right? Who are just like broadly anti-union and are going to lie about what the unions are doing and run the government
And
live.
lie about protests. Yeah,
Yeah,
they lie about
yeah.
the marches. It's weird. It's fucking weird.
And they're all a bunch of them are Zionists too, apparently. So like yeah. Anyway,
But also, there's a heterogeneity in the political class in both Spain and Italy that we don't really have here. Like, I think if the teachers and the nurses unions both, despite their like quite strong status in society, told National, guess what, we're withholding our support for you, they'd be like, you know?
Yeah.
Fuck off. I don't give a shit about it. I don't think Luxon and Seymour were expecting overwhelming support from the nurses union at the next election, you know? The CTU's not about to. Whereas in Italy and Spain, there is a bit more kind of cross-contamination of those, for want of a better word, kind of political ideologies, especially
Well, that's what
Italy,
I mean.
right?
Yeah. Oh,
Which is
hugely, and that's because the union presence is so much stronger that it's almost universally accepted, like
yeah.
across the political spectrum. It's kind of like, I'm trying to think of a comparable thing. I guess it's like public healthcare in New Zealand. It's one of those things where conservatives don't like it, but they have to swallow it because going against it would be cancer even to their own demographic. It's kind of, that's how strong unions look in other countries, is that the conservatives actually are beholden to them. Because of exactly that. It's just part of the culture of that society is union enrollment.
move to the boardroom. Do we give a shit?
No.
Moving on.
That was good.
The last thing I wanted to get to was this weird little Pete Hegseth meeting, Minister of Defense,
Well,
or whatever you want to go, U.S.
this
Secretary
was the
of
thing
Defense,
that I was saying we should
and the
chat about.
U.S.
Oh man, it's
Secretary
just,
of War.
he's,
Oh, yeah.
Mr. War, I think he wants to be called.
He has called his generals in. He's asked them to come in. I can't remember. It's in the future. It's a meeting in the future, gathering at like hundreds. Like, I don't know how many generals and admirals America has, but it's in the hundreds, maybe over 1,000. I don't know the total number. But he's basically calling them all in for like a big rally that he's going to speak at. Supposedly wants to talk to them about like rebuilding America's, what they're calling the warrior ethos, and reaffirming their plans to start calling themselves the Department of War. I mean, they're already doing it, but like, start trying to get, I guess, everyone on board with that and say, stop calling it the DOD. I want you to call it DOW. With a DOW unit. I guess he seems to be enjoying playing the big boss of the military. And then like immediately after the announcement of that meeting, he hopped on Twitter and posted a video of himself announcing, "Under my direction, the soldiers who fought at the Battle of Wounded Knee will keep their medals. This decision is final. Their place in history is settled." So, off mic, you referred to it as vice signaling, and I think that that's a good summary of what seems to be happening there. Is coming out explicitly supporting an unambiguous genocide of Native Americans, and then gathering his generals all together. It feels like just more of that clear pre-announcement, foreshadow of what they have planned for the future. And they see things like the UK and Canada and France sort of pivoting away from them on foreign policy. And I think there is a slight panic possibly sitting in there. There is a few more wheels turning for them in terms of what's going to happen at the theoretical next American election. And my read on it, that I sort of semi-glibly joked about last podcast and also earlier in the chat, but my assumption here is that they're sort of setting up for the long game of, how do we not have to give up power? How do we not have to let go of this? Now they've made suggestions at the last election. They suggested, hey, we did rig it, so there's that option. But there's also the possibility, the sort of other option that they may be considering, which is invoking wartime powers to just suspend elections and then just hold power. And a lot of the saber rattling against Mexico and against Canada also feels indicative of something very, very dark brewing on the horizon. The fact that the FBI is like very obviously orchestrating false flag disinformation. So he's just going to sightings of shootings, writing stuff on bullets that indicate the ideology he wants to demonize, and then placing them at the scene. Like, no one's falling for that. No one's being tricked by that. Not even conservatives. They're like, man, this was weird. What are you doing?
This sucks. This our guy? What is he doing?
This is the thing. But they're all indications of like I was talking earlier, that total deterioration of respect for law, of process, of democracy. There is a sort of a bellwether there, I think, of I don't know if America has another election, or if they do, I don't know if they ever have another free and fair election.
I mean, they haven't had one of those for a while either. Let's be clear.
Yeah,
I mean, Trump before this election just gone for them, right? He was saying, "Vote for me, you won't have to deal with an election again." You know, like they've been pretty upfront about what their fucking plans are.
Yeah, and so what we were saying the other day was just like, a war. He's looking at sort of sending American troops back into Iraq and Afghanistan. Like, but I think an American war overseas clearly doesn't have the same source. It doesn't have what it needs to.
It needs to be on their borders, eh?
Like, it needs to be something that really frightens people, and so that's what you're saying is there is either. If the FBI stuff is the thing to be paying attention to, there's either another 9/11 on the horizon, but this time definitely 100% orchestrated false flag, or there's just like a domestic war with a neighboring nation that they can then just go, hey, look, we can't afford to have an election, guys. It's just not the right time.
Yeah.
It's very.
Okay.
I was going to say it's very funny for Scheinbaum and Carney to be the two people you want to be provoking you, like two of the most chill, fucking like self-controlled, ordered type A individuals probably in the entire like leadership class in the world. How the fuck do you get these people mad at you? Like, they're just efficient operators in completely different ways. But it's very funny that those are the two people that Trump like lucked out to have to deal with. There'd be so many other leaders that he could create kind of a plausible like civil disagreement with, that on the border there could be some kind of conflict. Like, almost any past leader of Mexico would have been a much easier person to deal with, right?
And it's very clear that he's trying to provoke Maduro. That's what the Venezuela stuff is about. And I think he's hoping, he's praying that maybe they can go to open war with Venezuela. But again, it's not close enough to the border. No. I don't think it gives them the casus belli that they're looking for to invoke those powers that say we don't have to give up our current seats.
Yeah.
100%.
So I don't know. I know I sound maybe a little bit conspiratorial.
No,
but
we're going to get worse. We're going to get worse.
Deeply, deeply dark on the horizon in America in the next couple of years.
It's all very Doctor Strangelove, right? Like, it is feeling very like. I'd rewatched that film the other day and I was like, fuck, like, if there's a film that's time has come, how embarrassing. Like, this is not the time. But also, like, on a very minor side note, I wish more politicians would end their fucking declarations with "this decision is final," because that means nothing and it's very, very funny. Like,
this decision is final until my successor rolls it back.
Well, I don't know what you thought your previous decisions were. Like, does that imply that you tend to just flip-flop? Well, I mean, to be fair, Donald Trump does tend to do that in the space of a few months, but I love that as like a little like wanky sign off. Sorry, I thought
history's settled now. Okay, mate.
Yeah.
We'll fucking see.
It's an impotent parent yelling at their toddler, being like, "My word is law."
Yeah, I mean, these are like
so cute.
There's optimism in these signs as well, right? Like how desperate they are, how clearly ham-handed the stuff is, how much they're trying to accelerate it. Yeah, it makes it seem like really, really fragile. I mean, that's not to say that they're not going to do a lot of damage, right? And they are doing a lot of damage.
It's a fragile administration who also have control of nuclear arms.
Yeah. Yeah, not really what you want.
It's not to say that it's better, that's for sure, yeah. Because, like, fragile, like, it's easy to forget, but the build-up to a lot of kind of international conflicts haven't been riddled with, like, confidence, you know? Like, fragility is not a sign of stability. or like it's a bad thing if anything. But it's funny to watch in kind of real time the development of these insecurities and like I don't know psychological proclivities just playing out on the national stage. Like yeah, like an embarrassed parent with a toddler doing something wrong, like trying to assert their authority in a way over an entire kind of nation state that with like the most powerful arsenal in the world spending more than the next 10 countries combined in military arms, and that's their leadership style. You know, it just look if you've ever felt imposter syndrome, maybe rethink that based on the current leaders of the world system.
Yeah, for years I was always like, yeah, I mean they're not doing a great job, but I probably couldn't do better. But and you know,
At this point,
unambiguously, like there is,
Yeah.
I'm absolutely
I could
confident.
even false flag better.
I could show up. I
Absolutely.
could show up 2 days a week and do a better job than what they're doing. By not showing up at all and doing nothing, I'd be doing a better job than what they're doing, to be honest.
Just to be really
Yeah.
pole-brained about this, like it is interesting to be here and to realize no, everyone knew what Nazi Germany was doing. The science would have been there, and they would have been going through exactly the same thing. And there would have been a bunch of us who were like, "Hey, everyone, why don't we do something to stop this?" And everyone would be like, "Oh, I don't want to," right? Like, none of this stuff is ever just like a fire just starts, right? Like this stuff is really, really clear. Anyone in a couple of years, and you know the same's true for the genocide in Palestine, can say, "Oh, I didn't realize. Oh, now I'm coming over to your side." There's just been this discourse recently around, "Oh, you have to let them into the camp. You have to open the tent up. Like, don't attack people who come over to your side late." Like, fuck you. Like, I won't if you get on your knees and fucking beg for forgiveness at this.
oh no, Kyle, we're gonna do this again. Fuck.
No.
Back to the
You
wars
give
of
them a
the
little
late
clip around
2010s.
the ear, and you say, "Okay, Johnny come lately. Welcome aboard. Fuck you." You know, you don't have to rub their nose in it too much. It's important to
But I'm not talking
not
about
look a
normal
gift
people,
horse in
right?
the mouth.
I'm not talking
No.
about normal people. Like,
Yeah, I'm not going to sing the praises of Jacinda Ardern for finally realizing that genocide is bad after 2 years. But I'm also not going to get like too angry about the fact that she's finally said something, because it is ultimately in service of our broader goals of keeping our eyes on
it all gets there.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
they're
we
also
have to bring the libs on board. They're all
Yeah. There's too many of them, unfortunately.
they're all so worried about Trump playing golf when he should be working as the president, and I'm like, no, it's the opposite. You should be
But the
encouraging
question-
him. You need to be telling his entire administration to just go play golf instead of doing what they're currently doing and fucking up the country.
Yeah, 100%. But the question is not like, are you a bad person? It's like, what made you decide that I was wrong for 2 years? And
Yeah.
next time I'm right 2 years ahead of you, how will we have this conversation again? You know,
Yeah.
you can be forward focused and also critical.
there needs to be some reflection.
Look, I've
right?
tried that before a few times, and honestly, it hasn't worked. But in my brain,
People, you know what? I think that people love is when you say, "I told you so."
they do love that. It's true. But it's
Everyone
no,
does
you're only allowed to do that after they come to you and they say, you know what, you're right, and then you go, okay, so next time I'm right and you're wrong, how are we going to have this conversation?
Yeah, you go. No. They come to you and say,
Yeah.
"Oh, you were right and I was wrong." And say, "Okay, there's a set of stocks over there. Get up on the stage.
Kyle!
We're gonna lock you into it.
This is
and
what's
we're gonna
keeping
people to
the-
throw rotten fruit at you."
This is what's keeping the 1 or 200 political party below 1%, Kyle. This
No,
kind
no.
of alienation of
Huge support for Palestine, though. I think it's a different kind of situation. But yeah, well, we'll see what Winston Peters says in about an hour, and we'll probably talk about that next week on the podcast. Yeah, uncertain times, which is going to be the sign off for the next 5 years, I imagine, unless
And
we get a
after
real
that-
turnaround.
After that, everything will be hunky dory.
Yeah, we'll go to post scarcity, right?
Yeah. Easy mode.
Well, that's been another episode of 1 of 200. Thank you for joining us, Ollie. Thank you for coming back.
Always a pleasure.
And Philip, thanks.
I can only apologize. Have a good week.
And thank you to our audience. Like, share, subscribe. Write in. We'll get you some little stickers saying "I told you so." And you can wear them, and you can proudly display your forward thinking.
The least purchased merch of all time.
We'll be back next week with more current events. We'll catch you then.
If artifices are then I'm living a pointless slide, but learning all your lessons. Fucking politics, there's no distinction. The road's upon now. It's paved with good intentions. And I'll admit that I'm at a loss for what to say when they quote this as a cost we ought to stay. Cause I live amongst the people every day in this vindictive, forgetful fucking race.